Hello, good morning. I think it's probably about time to get started. Welcome to, let me get this out of the way because I think you're getting a little bit of a window out here. Okay. Welcome to Practical Project Management. This is our tools webinar, part of our basic series, and I'm happy to have everybody with me this morning. So let's get started. I always start with a little bit about me in case you haven't been to one of these before, so you know that I know what I'm talking about. My name is Kim Wasson. My educational background is that I have a bachelor's from Cal State and a master's from Stanford. And in my career, before I started my own business, I held positions from line engineer to vice president at companies as big as IBM and eBay and as small as brand new startups. And I used project management tools and techniques and concepts in every position at every company, no matter whether I was in project management or not. These are really generally applicable tools and concepts and practices. I started IBBay Consulting 10 years ago, and I specialize in providing tailored solutions for project and program management, for coaching in project and program management and time management, untangling difficult projects, and process engineering and improvement. I work a lot with distributed and international teams, so I know how to manage that. And if you haven't been to my website, take a look. There's all kinds of good stuff out there. Okay, let's really get into it. So what will we be talking about today? We're going to start out talking about what some of the important features of the tools that are available are. So this is more generic. What do you look for when you're looking for a project management tool? There are a lot of tools out there. I'm going to talk about some of the most used and the most popular and the easiest to get at both ends of the spectrum as far as price. We're going to spend a lot of time on Microsoft Project, walking through Microsoft Project features, because Microsoft Project features are pretty similar to features of any project management software. Microsoft Project is what used to be called the Cadillac of project management. I guess it's the Tesla of project management tools now. It's got it all, but it is kind of pricey. We're going to talk a little bit about Excel spreadsheet use. Some people like to use these. I don't actually recommend them because they really don't do any of the work for you, but they do a nice presentation. So if you're looking for something just to put together a presentation on, Excel is usable. We're going to demo SG Project, which is it runs on multiple platforms, but I'm going to show it to you on an iPad because it's relatively inexpensive there, and it's easy to use, and you can expand from there if you like it. And we're going to talk about some other options for the basic tools. We're not going to talk about Agile project management tools today. That's a more advanced concept, and we really haven't been talking about Agile. That's part of the advanced series. So we're going to go. We'll also do a quick demo of 2 online project management tools. They're software as a service tools, and both of them have free starter versions. They're not fully featured, but they've got plenty of stuff to get you started on them. And of course, they are free. And then we'll go through some things to remember. So let's jump in, and we'll talk about features. So what you may want to look for in a project management tool, one of the most useful features is auto schedule versus manual schedule. What this means is if you have a task that's manually scheduled, that means it's not going to move unless you move it. So if you know that you have to deliver something on a particular day, no matter where the rest of the project is, whatever the rest of the activities are, it won't change. But if you set up a task as auto scheduling and you have some dependencies, either resources that you need for it or other tasks that have to finish, and there is a delay in availability for the other tasks, it will reschedule the other tasks for you automatically. So you actually have a really good picture of where your schedule is landing based on what you put into it. Task grouping pretty much everything allows you to task group, and we've talked a lot about tasks and subtasks. So task grouping is subtasks to tasks. You're going to want to be able to specify dependencies. Most of the tools will let you do that in finish to start, in start to start, in finish to finish, and most of them will allow you to add a lag. So that means we've talked a little bit about this, but if you are finishing a task and then you have to wait 2 hours, like for the paint to dry to start the second coat of paint, you can put a lag in there. You could say wait 2 hours and then schedule this next task. Being able to specify resources and automatically assign them is good. Some of the packages, particularly Project, lets you schedule resources at a percentage. So if you have a person for half time on your project, you can specify that you only have them for half time on the project, and the package will schedule those. Resource mapping is a really nice feature if you are working with a large group, because it will do things like tell you when you have overscheduled someone. If you scheduled someone for 100% of tasks, especially if you're manually scheduling. Critical path calculation, sometimes it's called network diagramming, but that's telling you what the longest path through your project is based on your dependencies that you've set. Duration is how long the tasks will take to do, and most of the packages allow you to specify scale. Most of them will default to days, so if you put in 4, it assumes 4 days, but you can do hours or months or years or minutes. And then the time scale that displays, many of these packages allow you to specify what time scale you want to display. So if the default is it's going to display months and days, maybe you don't want to display days because this is a long-term project, you want months and weeks. Or maybe if you're working on a project over the weekend, you want hours, which is something that we're going to do. Now, let me get this up so we do the right thing. Oh, more features. Most of the packages will have at least a Gantt chart view. Some of them will have calendar views, which most of them you can switch between the views. You don't fix it a view for a project. If you can get a calendar view, my experience has been that marketing people always want to see a calendar. If they're trying to schedule something out, they'll draw a calendar on the board. So depending on your audience, you may want to change the views. So it's nice to be able to do that. A tracking Gantt chart actually shows you not only what the plan is, but what you've finished, how far you are. So if you say a task is 50% complete, it's going to show you that that task is 50% complete and it has 50% more of its time to go. And then the network, which is a critical path diagram. Most of the packages have project information. The depth of that information, how much detail you can put in about the project itself, varies from package to package. Some of that's depending on how much you're paying for it. And then many of the packages allow you to interact between multiple projects. So if you have one project that has a dependency on a task in another project, you're able to do that. We're not actually going to go through that particular part. That's a little complex for a webinar, but those are the set of features that really you're going to want to look at and decide what it is that you need when you decide what you're going to use. So let's look at Microsoft Project. So we're going to, let's see, we're going to bring up Project. So we're just going to walk through this so that you can see how this looks. Let's get some tasks in here. So this is a very common interface type. Microsoft Project was really one of the original ones, and this is what people are used to looking at. And you can see that it's very much like other Microsoft projects. So particularly for Microsoft Project, but for a lot of the other projects, it's not too difficult to figure out how to get around in here. You have your tabs at the top, your File tab. These are your tasks. That's where we're going to spend most of our time. Your resources, project information, This is where you get your calendar view, your network diagrams. You get all that there. I get an Acrobat tab because I have Acrobat installed. And then since I'm looking at Gantt chart, I can format my Gantt chart. So let's go back to the task view. It's very easy to put tasks in. You just type them in. So let's say we're going to do our painting the bathroom. We're going to say we have to get paint. We have to clear the room. We have to clean the walls. We have to prep. We have to paint. And we have to clean up. Okay, now I have a basic project plan. I haven't said anything else about this, but I think that I would like to put my subtask for the get the paint, because I have two things I need to do with getting the paint. So what we do for this is just, there's an insert button on the top somewhere here, but what I usually do is just a keyboard insert, and that automatically inserts. So let's say here we want to choose a color, and we want to buy the paint. Now you see these are all at the same level. So now I'm going to show you how very easy it is, and this works pretty much the same way in all the packages. I'm going to take both of these. So now I've selected them both. I've worked on this line number here. And I'm going to go up here where it says indent the task, and that just makes them subtasks. It's as easy as that. Now, you can see that my default here is showing me this is auto versus manually. My task name, how long it's going to take me, when I'm going to start and finish. Predecessor, these are my dependencies that I can put in. This is who's going to do it. I can add a new column. And I'm going to add one at the end. There are ways to add it in the middle, but you can see that Microsoft Project provides you a huge number of projects or of fields. Let's delete this. And add something that makes a little more sense. We're going to add a text field so that we can put some notes in here. I can rename this field if I want to. We're not going to go that far, but I'm going to put a text field. And for choosing the color, I think that since my mom's the one who uses the bathroom, it's an extra bathroom. I'm going to remind myself that I should get my mom to choose that. Okay, so that's the basics of the tasks. Let's work on durations. Now, I typically do not try to put durations on tasks with subtasks. I'd rather have it roll up. Okay, so let's say that it's going to take 2 hours to choose the color. Now, if I just put 2 in, it's going to default to days. Remember, I told you about that. So let's change that. And I'm just going to say 2H is enough. I can type in hours, but 2H is fine. Let's say it's going to take me 2 hours to buy the paint. I think it's going to take me 15 minutes to clear the room because it's a bathroom. It's not got that much stuff in it. So I'm going to say a quarter of an hour, 0.25H. I could put 15 minutes. Let's say it's going to take me half an hour to clean the walls. Let's say it's going to take me an hour to prep, an hour to paint. Nope, we're going to put 2 things in here so we can look at dependencies. So once again, I inserted the lines. I'm going to say code 1, code 2, and I can actually do these one at a time. I can indent them this way if I want to. The whole thing you need to remember about this is you can make subtasks anytime you want to, and I can move them back out to a main task if I want to. So let's say our first code is going to take an hour. Now let's say our first code is going to take an hour and a half, and the second code is going to take an hour because the second code goes faster, and we'll say that we're going to clean up, and that's going to take an hour. Now I'm going to let this default to day because I think you're going to see some interesting things here. Okay, so now you've seen how durations look. Let's put a few dependencies in here. So I can take a task. Let's do the by the paint. If I double click on that, I'm going to get the task information. You see I have a lot of tabs here. Project lets you put a lot of information here. One of the big things is % complete. That's really a nice thing to be able to specify. By the paint is going to have some predecessors. Like most packages, Microsoft works on line numbers. You can give it a separate ID so that as you move line numbers around, it keeps the same ID. That's handy sometimes. But we're going to say that it's dependent on number 2. It's going to fill in the task name for me. It's going to assume finish to start, which is good, and no lag, which is fine. Right? We know that as soon as there's a color, we can buy the paint. But we can't start painting. So let's put some dependencies here. I could put more than one dependency in here. I could say I have to be done with the prep. And I have to be done with buying the paint. Now, these assume finish to start, which is all good. I don't have the other dependencies in here, so the schedule is not going to be quite what I would do. And then code 2, I'm going to show you a lag. We're going to put in that I have to finish painting. Code 1 is a finish to start, but I'm going to put a lag in of an hour. And that's really all there is to putting dependencies in, and most of the packages work in similar ways. Now, if I just start to add resources, well, let's go to resource first. Let's look at our resource sheet. These are all our resources. We don't have any. So let's assume that I'm going to be a resource, that my husband is going to be a resource, that my daughter is going to be a resource. And here's the max that I was telling you about. Everybody's going to work 100% on this. So let's go back to our tasks. Why am I not getting the task? Okay. Okay, here are my tasks. Now, let's do a little more on resources. Let's assign them. So I'm going to say that now I can pull out of my resource pool. I could say I'm going to send my husband to buy that, and it's going to pick from the resource pool. Let's say this is me. This is my daughter. Prep is me. Paint is me. Daughter. Clean up is husband. But I forgot to put mom in. And you know what? That's okay, because if I just type mom in here and I go back to my resource, you can see it's going to add for you. So it keeps track of all that. It's really a very nice package for that kind of stuff. And look, it's told me who's doing what out here. Now I am going to auto schedule everything so we can let it do that. So I'm just going to select it all. I can select multiples, and I'm going to say auto schedule. So now it's scheduled some stuff out, but we have a little trouble seeing it because this time scale is telling me by weeks. So I can change that. I'm just using 2 tiers. See, I've got months here and days. You can use 3 if you need that. I'm going to say that I'm going to want my middle tier to be days, my bottom tier to be hours. Okay. Now I look at this and I say, oops, it's not going to take that long to clean up. Let's fix that. First of all, I'm going to make it dependent on finishing painting with a lag of an hour or 2 hours. And then I'm going to change it from a day to, well, we could do that, this in general. Okay, so now we've got that. But you see, it skipped a bunch of hours because I don't have information on the project as far as the working time. So let's say we're going to change the working time. And what we're going to do is we can add a whole different calendar. Actually, I'm not going to do that for you. I'm just going to show you what this is because that takes a long time and I don't want to take up that much time to just show you calendars. But you can actually build your own calendar. And what I would do for this is I would make it like 9 to 9 on a Saturday and a Sunday. But the default calendar is 8 to 12 and 1 to 5. So actually, that's an important thing to know. You can build your own, and you can also build exceptions in here, which means if someone is going on vacation, I can put that information in here, and the auto schedule will take that into account and not schedule that person on vacation. Let's see about project information before we go. Oh, no, I want to do one other thing. Let's suppose that mom's finished this. So we put 100%. You see that it's a little hard to see, but a black line goes in here. But let's suppose my husband's about halfway. He's gotten to the store. So he's 40% of the way through. You see that the line only goes 40% of the way. So you can see at a glance on most of these packages on the Gantt charts, if you have a scheduled Gantt view, that you can do that. Let's look a little bit at project information. So this is my start date. I can change my start date. Let's say I'm going to do this on Saturday. Oh, that's interesting. Did I do it before? Okay. Well, we get all kinds of warnings. But let's go back to change this to today. So we can see things a little better. So this just has really basic stuff here, but here's another place to change working time. Here's where we link to another project. I can add fields and name them whatever I want to. I can put a project update on here so that what it will do is it will keep versions basically, and it's stored in other fields. It's a little complicated, but it can be done. Let's see if we've gotten everything we wanted to do. Durations, resources. We talked about resource sheet. We didn't talk about leveling resources. Let's talk about leveling resources. So if I go back to resources, I could say, I can pick a resource. So I could say, show me where I am with mom. And it will tell me if I've overscheduled her. Let's say we're going to level them all. And so what it does is it goes through and makes sure that no one is overscheduled, and it reschedules the tasks. Now you see what's happened here. It's because I haven't put these dependencies. These things are going at odd times. So your dependencies, you can see in any project management, are really important. So be sure to use. Oh, this was nice. This was. Sorry, I just can't even stand doing that. Okay, so those are the basics of Microsoft Project. I'll watch the chat in case any questions come up, or you can email me with them later. I know it's a little hard to read this, but you get the general idea with Microsoft Project. So I'm not going to save any of this. Let's go back here. Excel. Let's talk about Excel. The easiest way to do Excel is that you download some templates that have project management. I have 2 templates. If you do your template management, you can actually go out to Microsoft, and they have a lot of templates that Microsoft has created, and they have other templates that other people have created. And actually, they're all over the web. Just be careful of your source. But I'm going to show you a couple of formats so you can see what they look like. Let's do this one first. So this is really just a picture. It doesn't do a lot for you. but you have to do all the work yourself about the dependencies and putting them in. It's not really going to show them, but what you can show easily here is all the activities, when you're going to start, how long it's going to take when you did start, how complete it is. And I'm not sure, let's see if I put this to 4. I haven't actually done this. Yeah, so it will change the % complete to these colors based on what you put in here. So that much it will do for you. So mostly it's a tracker. It doesn't really help you do a lot in the way of planning beyond a way to capture the original setup, but it is something that you can use. Now there's a more complex one that's actually more of a portfolio management system. You see that this has a lot of different projects, but you can adapt this very easily to a single project with multiple activities. So we've got some parameters that have, this is our resource management, even though it's not names. This is our list of projects, although we could actually use that as a list of activities if we wanted to. This is duration and work tracking. This is cost, so obviously this is good if you're doing some consulting or reporting to your management. So this is planned, and this is actuals, and this is how many hours we're using for stuff. So I could actually see this being kind of useful for me to be able to see if I am doing a remodeling project and I'm not the project manager or the contractor. I might be starting to look at this and seeing where things are getting off. And that's a little, so you can see that there are some options out there. They are more for capturing than for actually helping you manipulate and react to things. But if you need something for that, these are free if you have Excel, and they're pretty straightforward to use. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about, the next thing I wanted to show you was a software as a service package called ViewPath. ViewPath has a shoot. Well, I've lost my ViewPath. Let's just find it. It's very easy to find. Go. Okay. So I already have a login. It has all kinds of nice single starter things. So let's continue on and walk through this little puppy. Okay, so let me find, I think this was an initial one that they provided for me. It was my starting with bathroom paint. So you can see that it looks very similar to projects. So we're looking at a Gantt chart view here, but we can look at a table view. So let me show you well, we're not doing WBS. We haven't talked about WBS, but here are the tasks, and you can see that this has some subtasks. We don't really want these as subtasks. We can move it out. Oops, I've got a predecessor assigned. Well, there we go. So that's our move in, move out, move up, move down. All right, so if we want to move it to somewhere different in here, we have undo and redo. That's fine. Link is our dependencies. That's how they're handled in here. These are comments and columns. We can add documents. We can attach things. So it has some actually really nice features that you can get to even with the free version. You can send emails to people. You can say % complete. So let's say this is 100% complete. There we go. We got it complete here. So it's not really giving us a lot of how many % complete, but we can say that it's complete, and it's going to check it off here. Obviously, we can edit it. Let's edit so you can see. So we have our duration, start and finish, whether or not it's complete. Here's where we should be able to put in a %, but nope, not on the starter version. Okay, so still running into limitations on the starter version, but we still have, for free software, this is a nice way to get started. Getting rid of tabs or getting rid of tasks. Inserting. So this is all pretty similar. It's a lot more basic. Simple links. You can export, and you can do some scheduling here. You can let it schedule for you. So that's going to be, you're going to have to automate everything. It's not, you can't do automatic versus manual in this basic version. But still, this is going to get you a long way for a free software package. So that's called ViewPath. There are a lot of software development or project management packages out there. So look and see what you've got. These are the ones that I've found that are the most commonly used. I want to walk you through SG Project. I'm going to set up some mirroring. Okay, this is my iPad. Here we go. Now I've got SG Project right here. So this is just a mirror. This is a little package called Reflector. And you see that I've set this up. This is my painting project. I can go back to my list of projects, start a new project. You can see over here, this is my project information. I've got summary, I've got schedule, I've got, I can put objectives in here and status. Now, one of the things about this is this started out as just an iPad app. You wouldn't want to try to run this on an iPhone, and they don't really offer it for an iPhone. It has expanded over the past year to include, there's a Mac OS version, and now there's even a Windows version. There's no Android version. You can't run this on an Android tablet, but you can run it on your computer. There are site licenses. It's a little pricey. Once you get up to those, you're looking at Microsoft Project prices, but Microsoft Project does not have an iPad option. This costs $19.99 for the basic version on your iPad. It costs $49.99 for all the bells and whistles I can communicate with everyone package. So it's pretty reasonable. Microsoft Project will run you $400 to $500, and the laptop versions of this will run you in the same price range. But anyway, I wanted to show you this because it's easy and you can send it out. Let's go back to the task detail. So this is Get Paint. This is my detail. I've got Get Paint chosen. Let's go to choose color. Let's get back here. Okay. Let's see. I've got options all over the place. It's kind of your standard iPad information. So I can say what I want to see for the work, what I want to see for the date. I've got my share option, so I can email this in a lot of different versions, like even a PDF version. So this is actually, if you're just getting a little thing started, this is pretty straightforward, and it's easy to do. Again, it's called SG Project. I think that's probably enough for a demo. At least you know what it looks like. And again, it's $20. It's pretty easy to deal with. Let's go through our next thing. Okay, I want to talk about resources, but I'm going to show you at least one other package here. Actually, I'm going to show you two other packages. Microsoft Project, this is where you go to it, but really all of these, if you just do a Google search, it's going to pop up. These are going to pop up to the top. Project Planner and Project Plan Gantt chart are the two templates that I showed you if you want to go out and look at them. I'm going to show you another online one called Tom's Planner. This one is actually very I don't have a login to this, but I can run you a little bit of a demo so you see what this one looks like. And this has a free version. Okay, so everything's right-click. There's drag and drop here. So it actually has some pretty nice features of it. And again, you can start with a free version of it. It's, as I said, they're all pretty pretty similar to Project. They have the equivalent of tabs across the top. You've got your settings, you've got saving, you've got, you know, the schedules are your projects. You can pick your time scale. So, and you can email suggestions, but you can add things to it. Now, this is a demo version, so this is just the demo, so I'm not going to actually go in and show you any of it. But this is another good tool for an online tool, Tom's Planner. Now, one other good thing to see, I'm going to show you Gantt Project. Gantt Project, sorry I don't have these all up and running, but sometimes we have technical difficulties with too much stuff. So if I have a project that I can open. Okay, so this is an open source project, Gantt Project. That means it's free. That also means that support is as you get it, but it's reasonably full-featured. It's not quite as pretty as Microsoft Project, but the price is right. This is a little older version, but you have begin and end dates. You have okay, so your PERT chart is your critical path, your network chart. You can add your tasks. If I pick something, I can do properties. All right, so I begin dates and end dates, and I have % complete available here. I can actually not show it in the timeline if I don't want to. I can change colors on what's in the timeline. So everything is done right here. I do have predecessors. I do have resources. I have custom columns. So, and I can do custom columns by task here if I want to. So this is another option for you if you want something that is installed on your laptop, your desktop. And this runs on several different platforms. I believe that they do have both Android and iPad versions, although I'm not positive about that. But it's another option, especially if you want something that you install that's not out there online that you don't have to be connected to use. Okay, so these are your resources: Microsoft Project, Gantt Project, Excel templates, SG Project. Actually, I don't recommend iPhone, and I should have updated this because they have, as I said, actually put out Mac and most recently Windows versions. So that's pretty nice. ViewPath and Tom's Planner are software as a service. So that's a lot of information I've tried to cram into everybody's heads in a very short period of time. What do you want to remember out of this? The feature set is reasonably consistent across programs. It is deeper and richer the more you pay for a program in general, except that Gantt Project is free, but it's not necessarily pretty. So figure out what you need before you go look at a package, unless you're doing this at work and there is a prescribed package. And I will say that most corporate environments want Microsoft Project. If there was more than one person using it, they're going to probably use Microsoft Project. There are some very, very complex enterprise versions of Microsoft Project that tie into personnel systems and resource organization-wide resource planning and things like that. So you may even see that. But the piece that you would work with if you were just starting out, even with something like that, would be what you saw here as the client version. You have a lot of platforms to choose from, so think about what you need for a particular project, especially if it's a personal project, right? Do you just want to put it on your iPad and be able to carry it around? Do you need it on multiple platforms? Do you need it when you're not connected to the internet? And of course, how much do you want to pay for it? But we have a lot of that. So here we said installed Microsoft Project and Gantt Project, and now SG Project, both on the iPad and on other platforms, or the subscription service, which is the ViewPath and Tom's Planner. And then the iPad, of course, is SG Project. There are many, many online packages. These are the two that I have that I've found to be the most popular, and in testing out many of them found to be the most useful. And these, particularly ViewPath. ViewPath has been around for a while. That's one of the things that you worry about a little bit when you're doing the software as a service ones, when you're accessing stuff on the web, is if they are startups and they don't last, you need to be sure that there is an export function. That's the big thing, because you can take it out and put it into another project. A lot of budget points. You can start out with one and continue on to another. Most of these have import-export. They're not always incredibly clean, but they'll get you started without having to retype everything in. Okay, Gantt Project is free. ViewPath and Tom's Planner are free for basic. SG Project for iPad, and then of course you have your Tesla of project management software. Okay, questions. I've got the chat up, or you can raise your hand or whatever if you have any questions on this. This was a lot of information, probably a little more than the other ones, but this will be up on, I will have this recording up on YouTube today, and I will email everyone who is registered for this webinar so that you can go in and see it again. It'll give you really kind of basic tutorials, but I will tell you that for Microsoft Project, there are tutorials all over the place on the web. For the software as a service project, products, they all have built-in tutorials. So even if it's a little confusing to try to figure out by yourself, there are some nice tutorials to walk you through, and you should be able to figure it out. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, and that's okay. As I said, it's a huge amount of information. You can always email me if you have something. And we only have one more webinar in our basics series that's running the gamut. So what we're going to do there is we are going to take a project from beginning to end. We're going to use Microsoft Project. We're going to do all our planning, and we're going to put it in there. And we're going to do that in less than an hour. After that, we have some advanced concepts webinars coming up. So that's relationships in project management. That's managing risk. It's a lot of project communication. We'll cover root cause analysis. Making it better is process improvement in the project context. We'll talk about systems analysis because that plays heavily into more advanced project management. We're going to talk more about waterfall and spiral, which is mostly what we've been doing here. And we're going to have a session on Agile. And we'll talk a little bit about the tools available for Agile in that Agile session. And as always, there's lots of information on my website. Check it out. You could sign up for my newsletter there if you haven't done that already. And thanks for coming. I hope to be talking and hearing and typing with you in the next webinar.